Okay, I apologize. The video got cut off, but I intend to put up both parts in the same day so we don't lose some speed because we're just basically done with this section. So we're going to learn about using dictionaries for structured data. It says dictionaries are very useful for structuring data. The following code will create a dictionary which contains some personal data. Here we have a dictionary called person, which stores the person's name, height, weight, and age, integers, and strings. As you remember, in dictionaries we can have we're not locked to one data type. We can mix strings and variable and integers and whatnot, and it's not an issue. This means that we have a person named Pippa Python whose height is 154. I'm assuming this is centimeters. Weight is 61. I'm assuming this is kilograms, and age is 44. The same information can just as well be stored in variables like this. The advantage of a dictionary is that it is a collection. It collects related data under one variable, so it is easy to access the different components. The same advantage is offered by a list, right? We've gone over this formatting of storing related data in a list. With lists, the programmer will have to remember that what is stored at each index in the list exactly, right? There's no way to say, if I want index 2, I can't write target the age, target the weight, or target the height, or target the weight, or target the age, right? I need to know that the order of items are in this specific order, right? That the first item is the name, the second item is the height, the third item is the weight, and the final item is the age. There's no other way for me to differentiate what each item in the list really is talking about, unless I know that this list is consistent. So when I have a list of persons, then that means each index will contain a list, and that list will have the items in the exact same order each and every time. So with lists, the program will have to remember what is stored at each index in the list. There is nothing to indicate that person 2 contains the weight and person 3 is the age of the person, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. When using a dictionary, this problem is avoided because each bit of data is accessed through a named key. So we know that each key is pointed to a specific value. So assuming we have defined multiple people using the same format, we can access their data in the following manner. So we have 3 dictionaries here, person 1, person 2, person 3. Each dictionary has a key named name, right, which is mapped to a specific name. They have keys, the height of key, which is pointed to this value over here, then weight, then age. And then we have a list of people. So we put person 1, 2, and 3 into this list, and then we can loop through the list of people and say for each person, print their name. So when we loop through the people list, then it's going to print each name. Then we can also do it to get the combined height. So, and we can again use loops to get the heights from each person in the list of people and do some compound addition to get their combined height. And then we can also print their average height, which is the combined height divided by the length of the people in the list, which gets you to print this. So that's pretty simple. So here we have an exercise called movie database. It says, please write a function named add movie, which adds a new movie object into a movie database. So the movie object will be all these values as one dictionary. The database is a list, and each movie object in the list is a dictionary. The dictionary should contain the following keys: name, director, year, and runtime. And the values attached to these keys are given as arguments to the function. So an example of its use, we have a database which have a variable named database, which is of type list. Then we call the add movie function. We pass the database, and in the database we append these values: the movie name, the 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 name, the director, the year, and the runtime. So we do this twice, and then when we print the database, we get the name of the movie added, the director added, the year, and the runtime, which is stored in a dictionary, and then the next appended movie object, is another dictionary. So that's it. So we're going to go on VS Code, close all this, movie database. We will close this for now. We're going to define a function. In fact, I'm going to copy this, define a function called add movie. So let me first do this. It's probably gonna if name is whoops whoops is equal to main, then do this, and then we just got to go up here, define add movie, which takes in the database, which is of a list, then the name, which is a string, the director, which is also a string, the year, which is an integer, and the runtime, which is also an integer, and it doesn't return anything. So now what we're going to do is we're going to basically do database dot append, and we're going to create a list. It's going to be an anonymous list. We're not going to dictionary, right? We're not going to assign it to a variable. We could, but it's not necessary. And then here we're going to have the name be the name, the year be the year, director, year, and runtime be the runtime. Like that. So let's run this. And there we go. Gone with the Python. Oh, I'm sorry. This is actually wrong. This should be a string name, string director, string year, and string runtime, like that. And just for the sake of being able to read this a little bit easier, just going to indent everything like that. Now when we run it, there we go. Name, director, year. Let's clear up the rest of this garbage. So now our list contains the name, which is gone with Python, the director, which is Victor Python, the year 2017, and runtime 116, which is this. When we add this first movie, and then when we add the second movie called Pythons on a Plane, again, it's also a list. The name is Pythons on a Plane, the director is Randy Python, the year is 2001, and the runtime is 94. So if we test this, there we go, we passed. Send that solution to the server. Show model solution in the browser. And they did the same thing. Now they assigned it to a variable called movie, which is a dictionary, and then append movie. But we just did with an anonymous object, anonymous data dictionary like this. But you can do it the same way they did. So you can also do it this way. Movie is equal to this dictionary, and then you can do database that append movie. This will also work, right? If we run our tests, also passes, we can submit that solution as well. So either solution works. I'm going to keep the anonymous object. Dictionary. I keep saying object because I've been writing it in TypeScript. So we have objects in TypeScript, but that's it. That's the solution. So either one works. Pick your poison. So let's move on to the next one. Before we do, let's refresh, make sure we got credit, and we did. Here we have another exercise called find movies. It says please write a function named find movies, which takes in a list and a search term, and it processes the movie database created in the previous exercise. The function should formulate a new list which contains only the movies whose title includes the word search for. Capitalization is relevant here as search for Anna should return a list containing both Anaconda and management. An example of its use, so here we have this database, then we call my movies, so this should return a list. Okay, so we will close this, open the final exercise. I'm going to collapse the sidebar here so we have a little bit more room to work with. Indent everything. If name is equal to main, then we're going to define find movies, which takes in a database, which is a list, and a search term, which is a string, and this returns a list. So now we're going to say movies is equal to an empty list for movie in, so this is the search term always the movie name? Yes. The function should formulate a new list which contains only the movies whose title includes the word search for. So we're going to say for movie in database, if movie So name is equal to movie, uh, oops, excuse me, movie name, like that. If name, was it that contains? Was this the function? Give me 1 second. I gotta get on Google. Right. So it's not contains. It's in. Right. So this is one of those things in programming. If search term in name, then movies that append movie, and then we return movies. So again, when you're in the real world, when you get your programming job, guys, like the overwhelming majority of the time, you're gonna be on Google searching for stuff. Even the stuff that you already know, you're gonna forget it, and you're just gonna have to go on Google and look it up. So there's no shame in that, and I just decided to include it in the video just to show you that these are the kind of stuff that you end up doing. So let's test this and see what happens. Okay. If search term in name, movies that append movie. So let's print name here and see what it prints. So gone with the Pythons in a plain, down over dead programmers. Okay, and we'll print movies. Before we return it, what happens? Okay, it prints an empty list. So for whatever reason, it's not appending the movie. So does this instruction say to append the whole movie? Yes. So in fact, let's instead of printing the name, let's print the movie and see what it does. So okay, so now when we print the movie, it returns the whole. Let's print name down here and see what happens. So let me get rid of this because so it doesn't print the name here. Huh, that's interesting. If search term in name, print name. Or should we do if search term in movie name like that? And then print search term. Huh, this is peculiar. Okay, so I think one thing we forgot to take into account that the movie name has to be and the search term have to be lowercase agnostic. I don't know if that is even the right term to use there, but essentially capitalization is irrelevant. So we need to, regardless, make sure that both the search term and the movie name are in lowercase. So to do that, we just need to, I'll remove that for now, do search name dot lower in movie name dot lower, like that. So the dot lower function, when attached to strings, will just turn them into lowercase. So now we can see that in two movies that have the term Python, for example, right? Python is printed twice because we call this print function here. It's printed twice. So now when we do movies that append a movie, right? Now we get this. We get two movies with the term Python in them. So Python's on a plane and then gone with the Python, and we get the rest of the details in the dictionary, and that's it. So we don't get this additional Dawn of the Dead Programmers dictionary that's also in the database list. So that's it. That's the solution, I think. Let's submit this, and it passed the tests, send the solution to the server, and we can take a look at the model solution in the browser. And there we go. They have this list called found ones. We called it movies. I think it might even be more lexical to call this found movies, right? And then they did the same thing here, search term. So they loop through the database that contains the dictionaries of movies, So for movie in database, then they have a conditional check if search term, and then the search term, which is a string, is converted to a lowercase string, is in the name of the movie, which is also a string, and we turn that into a lowercase to make sure that the casing is insensitive. Then we can append the found movie to our found ones list, and then we can return that found ones list, which is the same thing that we do here. We create this list called found movies, set it to equal to an empty list. Then we loop through our database for movies. Then we check if the search term is in the movie name with both terms are lowercase. Then we append that to the list of found movies, and then we return the movies. And so that's the solution to this exercise. If we go up here and refresh, and we get our credit. So at this point in the course, you can choose to participate in a research study related to learning programming. Participation is voluntary, and individual participants cannot be identified from the data gathered in the study. So this is optional, but I always recommend that if you see these studies listed somewhere in the course material, just do it. It's very helpful for the university to continue to update the material and make sure that students are able to follow along and be properly challenged, and that they take into account that students are actually learning. So I'm going to do this off screen, but I highly recommend that you also do this study. It's, again, helpful for everybody involved. So for the next iteration of the course, they take this feedback and they apply it to the material, just to improve user experience, to improve what you learn, and so on and so forth. So in the next video, we're going to start learning about tuples, which will be the last section in part 5, and then we'll be done with the entire chapter. So we'll be down to chapters 6 and 7. If you have any questions about all the material that we've covered in part 5 so far, feel free to ask that in the comments below or in the comments of any preceding video up until this point. And I'll be happy to help and answer any questions you might have. Somebody did ask a question, but when I responded, they never responded again, so I don't know. Perhaps they figured out what the requirements were. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave that in the comments below, and I'll be more than happy to respond and help you figure out and make progress on these exercises. So in the next video, we're going to start learning about tuples, which is section 4. Solutions that we've covered so far will be linked in the GitHub repository. You can find the link in the description. Please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new. Your support is very much appreciated, and your feedback lets me know how I can improve and how we can continue to progress in this course as I continue to teach and learn how to be a teacher, and you guys continue to learn how to be programmers. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and we're almost at the end of the course. So hopefully by then we'll be ready for the certification exam. Right, I'll see you guys in the next one.